All right. So to pick up from part one, my dad was supposed to go, or my parents were supposed to go to Saskatchewan, or wanted to go to Saskatchewan, but Canada was no longer allowing immigration in. So my dad contacted a guy that he had met while he was up there working in Saskatchewan that was from the United States. In fact, he was from a small town in western New York State called Canandaigua. And so my parents ended up, instead of going to Canada, they came to the United States. Now, one of the reasons that they did that, let me see if I can do this without getting too confusing. My mother had a sister. Her name was Ruth. Ruth, as many European women did, had married an American serviceman. His name was Carl. She had married an American serviceman, and they had moved from England to California, which is where Carl was from. I'm trying to remember the name of the town that it was, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. But when my parents couldn't go to when my parents wanted to leave England, their original plan was to you couldn't come to the United States without a sponsor family. So obviously my mother's sister and her husband Carl offered to sponsor my parents. They could come live with them and they'd sponsor them. So my parents were set to go to California. And then Ruth, her husband Carl, and their daughter, Carol Ann, were all killed when a drunk driver came over a hill on the wrong side of the road. He was passing a truck or something, passing another car on a hill, and came over, and there was a head-on collision. And everybody in the car that my mom's sister was riding was killed, which was Ruth, her husband, and Carol Ann. And in the other car, people were hurt, but the driver was just fine. Evidently, you don't get a lot of injuries when you're drunk. So, they couldn't come to the United States, so my father checked in with Saskatchewan. Canada said no. He got a hold of the guy that he met while he was working in Saskatchewan, and ended up moving to Canandaigua, New York. Now, one of the reasons I bring this story up is because I find it absolutely fascinating. I was born and raised in Canandaigua from birth. I was literally born there up until I was 18 years old when I left. And really, I mean, Canandaigua was like Mayberry. It kind of still is like Mayberry. Wonderful, wonderful place. But can you imagine how different my life would have been had that drunk driver not killed my mom's sister and her family, or had Canada still been accepting people from Europe? I'm really glad it worked out the way it did, because California would have been great, but Saskatchewan, I ain't saying nothing bad about the place. I've never been there. I ain't saying nothing bad about the place, but I prefer the weather here. So anyhow, I just thought that was interesting. When my dad first got here, he went to work. That, of course, he when he was in Saskatchewan, he was working on a farm, and when he was in England. By the way, when my dad went to school, school stopped at 8th grade. You were done at 8th grade. There was no, I mean, you could go on to further education, but you were considered graduating when you were 8th grade. That was where, I guess, public school ended. And then you went to work. After 8th grade, you went to work on the farm. That was the way it was. So after he got out of 8th grade, he went to work on the farm. When he went to Canada for Saskatchewan, he went to work on the farm. When he moved, I got to tell you the story about Alan Stacy, too. I got to remember that. The computer screen goes out, makes the light change. Anyhow, he went to work on the farm. So when he came to Canandaigua, he went to work on the farm. Uh, and evidently, excuse me, evidently the guy he was working for had a little problem with being able to pay him. So he would work on the farm during the day, and then he got a job right down the street from where they were living. He got a job at a company called Cordite. Worked at night after the farm, uh, doing cleanup work, basically sweeping floors and emptying trash cans. It wasn't called Cordite. It was at the Lisk. That's what it was. A company called the Lisk. And he went to work there, sweeping floors, emptying trash cans, working nights. But he had to have some income. Now, the farmer had promised to pay him, so he stayed there during the day and worked at the Lisk at night. Well, the farmer ended up never paying him. He ended up getting a day job, full-time day job at the Lisk. Then the Lisk was, I hope I can say all these company names because I don't want to get in trouble. The Lisk was bought out by a company called Cordite, and he worked for Cordite for a while. And then Cordite was actually bought out by a company you may have heard of called Mobile Chemical. And my dad worked there for a long time. In fact, he retired. They retired him early. He couldn't mentally, I guess, do the job anymore once he was diagnosed. But Mobile Chemical treated him exceptionally well. They treated him very, very well. Excuse me. They gave him full retirement benefits, and they didn't cancel his health insurance, and they did nice stuff for the guy. But if you can't do the work, you can't do the work. So they cut him. Yep, they cut him loose. Gave him a couple years severance pay and patted him on the back and told him good luck. But they did take care of him. They were good about that. I've also had some people, and I said something about looking in the mirror, which is disturbing to me. I know people say, well, the gray hair and the wrinkles and the lines and the scars are all how you've gotten to where you are today, and they've made you what you are, and I appreciate that. Thank you. It's very, very kind for people to say that, and I agree with it as long as it ain't me. It's disturbing. It bothers me. When I go to get a haircut, which, as you can see, is not something I need to do very often. When I go to get a haircut, they always turn you around and face you towards the mirror and say, well, what do you think? I tell them the same thing every time. You didn't make me any younger. You didn't take some of the hair and move it back up here to the front where it needs to be. But they do what they can, and I appreciate it. Time flies. I came to Louisiana at the ripe old age of 19. I've gone from graduate to grandpa since I've been here. We did have a break in the middle where I moved back to New York for a little while when my dad was diagnosed. But I came back because of a job offer. And I'm glad I did. I like it here. All right. I don't want to make this 3 parts. I'm just rambling on anyway. I do want to show you this. When I was looking through, now you see, I can't shut up, so I'm gonna have to make this 3 parts. So sit tight for the marshmallow box. Hang on.